Please read the disclaimer. XRP holders, it's starting today. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, money makers. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the current status in the crypto market and the Rave Dao that has just gone bananas. What an amazing trade. Those of you that have been watching for the past few days have come along the ride with me. Some of you have joined, some of you have sat on the sidelines, but that's okay. We'll talk about that as well. All I ask from you is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smishity smash that like button because Monday likes are for free. Don't say I don't spoil you guys. Currently, XRP is sitting at $1.32. The market is still waiting to see what is going to happen. Futures open up pretty ugly. Stock market futures after the weekend and everything that inspired and the collapse, ceasefire negotiations, but then they bounce back. And oil is up. So oil jumped after dropping all the way down to 95, has bounced back to 104 on this potential of what's going to happen. Pre-market just opened up as well, actually, while I was starting to record. And S&P 500 is down about 0.5%, but nothing too ugly, right? You can see some stocks here down 1%, 2% in pre-market, but nothing too bananas. So very, very interesting situation right now in the crypto market. We'll see what happens here this morning. We talked about the possibility of the crypto market reacting when the stock market opens. So that is still a possibility on the table. But since the news came out on Sunday night, XRP is basically consolidated up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit. And today we're going to see the blockade start. So the US is going to block ships entering and exiting Iran ports on April 13th, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And President Trump put a call to all the ships to come, right? And you can see, President Trump says, US has much more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia. Boats are coming here and filling up. We don't have to go through through Hormuz. And you can see from this picture, the tankers are coming this way, right, to the US to load up on oil. And so potentially this could lower prices in the short term. We'll see what happens. And Marty says here comes the tankers. Iran has been bypassed. GCC gets dollar wins strength. In 1 month, there will be no more Jerome Powell. May 15, Warsh heads to the Fed. And then the question is, what's going to happen? Today, we do this week, if we go look, we do have some interesting financial data that is coming out outside of the reaction of what's going to happen here. We have core PPI. We've seen in the past that core PPI can affect the markets if it's higher than expected. So we will be tracking and looking at what is going to potentially happen there. Okay, that could be very, very interesting and very, very important. So we'll track that. Also, we have import price index that's coming out and initial jobless claims on Thursday. And so we'll see. This week will be interesting. I just read a post. I was in this like WhatsApp group here, and they were, basically giving the news that I give. I joined to see if there was any news that I was missing, and basically the group has gone dormant for like 3 months, 4 months, even maybe. And someone just posted today. It's like, why is the group so quiet? And so the guy that was trying to push his courses and push things, like his school, said, well, there hasn't been a lot of news. Of course, there's been lots of news. And we think that the market is still going to go bearish. And that's why we haven't been bringing the news, because we don't want to overwhelm people with the news when the market is weak, right? And I was surprised, but then I understand why they're doing that, because it's very hard to sell courses when the market is weak. So they're probably not putting in the time to get the group going, because they can't sell their courses, because people are not joining courses when the market's weak. They join courses when the market is hot, right? This is just how it is. And so that was just an interesting take. And could that be one of the signals that we might be very close to the end? I'll show you another signal in just a second. But as always, I just want to remind you that this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Also, remember that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or to send me anything. Those are scammers. Those are imposters. Please be very careful out there. I will never DM you. I will never send you a friend request. Please be careful out there, okay? Now, yes, XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, the top cryptos haven't been moving that much, but we have been tracking over the past few days good old Rave, right? Which is up another 222%. Wild. It is already at 9. And it has just gone on an amazing run here. If you remember, I opened the initial position at 50 cents. I got stopped out twice along the way, taking profits. I put a, listen, you gotta, with the asset like this, you have to take profit. You have to have a stop loss because it can move 15, 20, 30% in minutes, right? 30%. I could have got liquidated and, on a 30% move and had my whole position gone and nothing, left. So that's why it's so important to have a stop loss. And the problem with that was that I got stopped out twice. One time I got stopped out, I was awake. The other time I got stopped out and I was asleep. And unfortunately, there was a run after that. So I could have had maybe double than what I have right now on the position. But still, right, we don't cry on spilled milk. Okay, so we're not going to do that. But to someone that says there's no opportunities, there's, with that WhatsApp group, I wanted to write something, but I was like, you know what, it's not worth my time. And it's funny, someone just wrote in that group. I think probably the mute on it is over or something. So maybe you heard like a sound from the WhatsApp. I don't know, but it is interesting that people are like down in the gutter right now, but there is still opportunities, right? And those of you that have been subscribed and following, some of you have joined, some of you not. By the way, my initial position was very small. It was around the total like leverage position was only 15,000, and so it kept growing, and I didn't put in a lot. So that again, many times you'll have a trade, and this was maybe my most successful trade, just percentage wise, like the initial amount that I put in. I think it might be the largest just from what I put into what it turned into. I've had, of course, bigger dollar amounts, but maybe not even. I don't know. I have to check on one trade. It's 3 trades, right? Because I got stopped out twice. But this is just amazing, right? And so, by the way, I did this on BTCC. If you are interested, we have the 30% bonus still. So if you're interested, link is in the description down below. Something like Rave, is it once in a lifetime? Maybe. Will there be other opportunities if we go into the banana zone? Probably. Will we go into the banana zone? That's the question, right? Like in that group, they were saying no. That maybe towards the end of the year, that's what he said. And that we continue to see sell-off and consolidation. That's what he thinks. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. Things can flip on a dime, right? So we'll see potentially what's going to happen here. Again, Rave, if you're thinking about getting in right now, it's super duper volatile, even now. So it can not move. And then suddenly you have like a 17% drop in 6 minutes. So it's still super, super volatile. I have my stop loss somewhere around here, just because I know that, something like this that has gone parabolic, can potentially go the other way. But I'm just afraid to short it right now, because if you go and you look right now, it's at the top here of short 30 million. Usually you don't see something like this. Usually the top is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, right? Not something that, well, now it's already a big market cap. It's 2.35 billion market cap. It was at, I think it was like 300 million when I started, somewhere around that, or even lower. And I didn't even catch it at the first like wave. It was already up 100% when I decided to open that small position. So again, you don't know, like, right? It was already up. It started at 24 cents. And I got in somewhere around here on Thursday, right? And then it just whoa, 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 right? Even that Thursday was the biggest day because it went from 33 all the way up to 1. So it 3x in a day. And so that was the initial like, whoa, right? And then it just kept going. Where will it stop? I don't know. Right now it's at 9. I don't know. And the funny thing is that there's like no real reason that it's pumping. It's just lots of FOMO and I don't know, money's coming in. But I'm not complaining. Someone said to me, well, like back when people were investing in NFTs and things like that, I said, hey, if there's opportunity to make money, let's make money. Like, let's not ask questions why, right? Sometimes you just got to go with the flow. But again, be careful because we know things can flip on us. So that's important. And I'm gonna take lessons that I learned from previous cycles, especially last year when I made mistakes. Um, you know, October 10th, put October 10th aside. Luckily, because I was in Thailand, most of my positions were out. Like I had a little bit, but most of it was out. Before I had some, not so great trades after amazing trades. And I learned from that. And I'm now, when I'm doing this right now in this big run up, I'm, taking profits and rising having, it's basically a trailing stop loss because I keep raising it. So we'll see what happens with this. Again, the general crypto market right now is in the tanker, right? There's not much opportunities. Like I'm looking maybe take some profits off of this and maybe open a new trade on something. And it's like, maybe, but maybe lower leverage and for maybe a long-term position. Nothing like for a day trade or for a swing trade like this. But maybe money will go from this and shift into another opportunity. So again, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. So if there is another opportunity, you don't miss out on that one. There is one that I'm looking at. It has the name of my niece. So I'm looking at it. So far, I lost a little bit on it. I could have made big, but I fell asleep before because I didn't sleep good at night and it popped up and then I got stopped out on it. Again, another very volatile one. So again, there's opportunities here and there's ones that are a little bit volatile and we'll see how this market plays out. Now, again, the blockade could be significant here because blockade collapse Iran's imports to zero, and there's no cash from oil exports to pay for anything. It sends Iran currency into a devaluation spiral and the economy into hyperinflation. There's pros and cons to a blockade, but the pros dominate right now. And by the way, this blockade and what could happen in the collapse of the ceasefire, it's not good for me. I just told you that I didn't sleep. I slept like 3 hours, and then I woke up to help my wife in the morning, and then I was sitting on the chair right here, and I fell asleep, and I was like, okay, I gotta go, I gotta go to the bed for at least an hour, because I think my body is used to waking up multiple times a night because of the sirens and because of my kids waking up and all that. And so just my body can't sleep more than 3-4 hours straight. I don't know what's going on with me. Maybe I need some help, medical, like, I don't know. But if it comes back, then, that's not good for me. School is back. So that's great. You see, I have joy in my eyes. So of course, the conflict coming back, if this blockade, it means the end of the ceasefire. So, that's not good. But I'd rather have the nuclear option off the table totally than a few weeks of, no school again or school from home and waking up at night in the middle of the night. So again, I'd rather have that security than suffer for a few weeks. That's the situation that we're in right now where I live. So if we go back to XRP, there's still interest around XRP and what could potentially happen here. XRP leads all of the ETPs. Interesting. And inflows over the last week as global demand rebounds, XRP tops weekly inflows with 120 million to 224 total, outpacing Bitcoin's 107 million, while Ether funds saw continue outflows. This is interesting, and this could be one of the catalysts that eventually gets BlackRock on board to start investing or thinking about opening a XRP ETF, if they see, oh, wait a second, XRP ETFs are successful and they are, given better returns from inflows, outflows than the Ether ones, right? Remember, Ether is the Ethereum token, right? The Ethereum blockchain token. Not many people know that. It's not the token itself. When you buy it, it's Ether, not Ethereum. ETH, right? And maybe this is the tipping point. But right now, I don't know if they're thinking about it just because, again, we've talked about this, how, analysts are lowering crypto companies like Coinbase. We talked about this. They're lowering their expectations for their earnings report. And just in general, the crypto market is dormant, just price action. Again, when price action is good, there's a lot more interest, there's a lot more people. But, with the president talking about crypto and the Secretary of Treasury talking about crypto, this could flip very, very fast. And again, an XRP ETF from BlackRock could be very, very interesting. It is the last domino in the domino theory, right, by Jake. And his price predictions. We'll see. Maybe. Again, I will be very happy if XRP goes on a run like Rave just did. I'd be very, very happy about that from 50, well, or not 50 cents. Where remember, XRP went from 50 cents to $3 or so, but of course the market cap was much bigger and the internet went bananas. Rave just went from 50 cents to $9, and I just looked at YouTube and there's like no one's talking about it. Yeah, maybe YouTubers are right now kind of stuck with their head in their where, and just doing what they're doing just to bring move along. But I could be doing 4 videos a day talking about XRP, but of course I reduced it to 2 videos a day because someone yesterday said, "Bring us the news." And I said, well, the news is right now what's affecting the top cryptos because they're sitting on that algo is um, the situation in the Middle East, right? Iran, USA, the negotiations and everything that's happening behind that, and what's happening with the Clarity Act. Outside of that, any news that comes out for XRP, it's not going to really move the needle right now because the potential of that changing XRP's market cap. Again, if BlackRock comes out with an XRP ETF, that's a big thing, right? That could move XRP 10, 15, 20%. But the fact is that right now XRP is sitting on the algo. And interestingly, by the way, I was looking at XRP's kind of movement yesterday, the day before, and it's moving with the algo right now, but it has detached a little bit. Like Bitcoin and Ethereum move mostly the same. You can see mostly the same, right? But XRP has been kind of, it has a little bit of a different movement. Right here, Bitcoin was falling down and XRP was actually coming up on that time frame, and then sold off. But it's kind of on its different kind of movement right now. It's interesting. I don't know what that means, going forward, but it's kind of detached, maybe similar to Solana a little bit, right? So I don't know. Maybe the algos have switched a little bit. We'll have to see over the next coming days what happens with that. Now, Japan, just in Spain's 800 billion banking giant BBVA is rolling out Ripple custody into its core banking system. So again, a headline like this, it's important for XRP, but is that something that is going to move the needle for XRP and send XRP is a $80 billion market cap? Does this add 8 billion to XRP's value? And that's the question, that kind of headline. Probably not. So right now, it's not moving the needle on XRP. It will be very interesting to see what potentially happens here in a day or two with the ceasefire, with the Clarity Act. We heard maybe next week we'll see some movement there. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays out. And we do have a situation where Bitcoin just broke its weekly RSI downtrend. For the first time since October 10th, this is typically how bear trend ends. So again, we'll see. This is the weekly graph. And so this same signal marked the end of the last 2 corrections. And so we'll see. Again, it happened here and here. So we'll see what could potentially happen with these pullbacks. Again, it's not the. This was in September and in May when the assets pull back, and then we had those run ups. So will we see another run up, or are we talking about the last sell off to 50,000 and then potentially recovery maybe off of that? That's what a lot of people are expecting and predicting, but many times when everybody's like, well, the market is going to sell off another leg, we think it's going to sell off, that's actually when potentially the opposite happens. And interestingly, if you're looking, right, Bitcoin is about to cross over on the 1348 EMA on the daily chart. Last time that it crossed over there was in January when, of course, we had that flipperoo when we thought, ooh, we're going up, right? We're recovering back to 120, but then Coinbase ruined the party. So maybe this time, potentially that could happen. Ethereum already got the crossover, interestingly, but there's not a lot of juice right now. Maybe if Bitcoin gets that crossover and you see that sell-off kind of ruin the party from the ceasefire being canceled or the negotiations finishing without any fruition, we'll see in the next coming days what could potentially happen off of that. Very, very interesting to see how that plays out over the next coming days. As always, don't forget to smash the like button. Check out the links in the description down below. If you're interested, again, in BTCC, check it out right now in the description. Please, please, please trade responsibly. Again, this is an affiliate link, so I will get a commission if you do trade and use my link. So please, please, please trade responsibly. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.